chosen one, stop scrolling. Not because of curiosity, not because of coincidence, but because something inside you recognized this moment before your mind could interfere. This is not just another video. This is a God's message, arriving in exact divine timing, and it found you because your spirit was already listening. That sudden pause you felt, that quiet pull that made you stop without knowing why, was not random. It was recognition. And recognition always comes before understanding. This video is about why you were called, why isolation followed you, and why what felt like delay was actually preparation. And if you stay, the confusion you've been carrying will finally make sense. This is how divine communication works. It doesn't chase you or shout for attention. It resonates. It reaches the ones who can feel truth before they can explain it. If this were just content, you would have scrolled past it. If this were just entertainment, it wouldn't feel this personal. But it does feel personal because this message is about your isolation season, your spiritual awakening, and the divine promotion being prepared behind the scenes. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen ones, the ones shaped by pressure, separation, and an inner awareness they never asked for, but could never escape. Stay with this, because what you are about to hear will reveal why the war was real, why your light was targeted, and what is about to shift next. Let me say this clearly, so there is no confusion. You are not imagining what you have been going through. You are not overthinking it. And you are not weak for feeling the weight of it. What you have been calling loneliness, distance, silence, or loss is not a breakdown. It is a divine calling and isolation season. And that season exists for one reason only, to prepare you for elevation. Isolation is not God stepping away from you. It is God stepping closer. When your life became quieter, when certain people drifted without explanation, when the old world stopped responding to you the way it used to, that was not rejection, that was refinement. God does not promote in noise, He promotes in stillness. He does not reveal destiny in crowds, He reveals it in separation. If your spirit feels aligned with this truth, anchor it now. Comment 777. Not as a ritual, as a recognition. Alignment acknowledged becomes alignment activated. I speak to you now as someone who has watched this pattern repeat across lifetimes, as an older, enlightened spiritual teacher who has seen how God prepares His chosen vessels. Every time elevation is coming, isolation arrives first. Every time purpose expands, familiarity dissolves. Every time the assignment grows heavier, the path grows quieter. This is not cruelty. This is precision. You were never meant to be shaped by consensus. Your awareness was never meant to be diluted by noise. Your light is not decorative. It is functional. And functional light attracts resistance simply by existing. The war you felt was real. The pressure was real. The resistance was real. Not because you were doing something wrong, but because your presence carried something necessary. Light disrupts darkness without trying. Truth exposes illusion without effort. And that is why your life demanded growth earlier, faster, and deeper than others around you. God was not punishing you. He was preparing you. Isolation strips away false identity. It removes borrowed beliefs. It breaks emotional dependency on approval. It teaches you how to stand without applause. This is why it feels uncomfortable, not because it is wrong, but because it is doing its job. And here is the truth. Most people never hear. Delay is how preparation feels when you don't yet see the destination. But in the spiritual realm, there is no wasted season. There is only divine timing. And divine timing never rushes and never arrives late. This message is reaching you now because you are ready to understand what you could not understand before. The confusion is lifting. The fear is loosening. The awareness is stabilizing. You are beginning to see that isolation was not the end of your story. It was the threshold. Circle back with me to where we began. This is not random. This is a message from God. You were called. The separation was intentional. The war was necessary. Your light is required. And the reason you survived what was meant to break you is because your assignment could not afford your absence. If this touched your soul, if something inside you just stood up and said, "This is true," then comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Why God always separates before He elevates. Chosen one, return to the truth we began with, because it must be anchored again. This is a message from God. You are not imagining this season. You were not mistaken about the shift. And you were not wrong to feel that something fundamental changed in your life. Separation is not a malfunction in the path. It is the pattern. Throughout spiritual history, God has always separated before He elevated. This is not symbolism. It is structure. Every major assignment, every expanded responsibility, every life meant to carry influence or impact was preceded by isolation. Not because God enjoys silence, but because silence creates capacity. When God prepares someone for more, He must first remove what would interfere with clarity. This is why spiritual awakening often begins with disconnection. Familiar places start to feel foreign. Familiar people no longer feel aligned. Even familiar versions of yourself begin to feel outdated. This is not loss of identity. It is the shedding of identities that cannot survive the next level. Awakening does not begin with answers. It begins with detachment. And that detachment can feel deeply confusing. There is grief in this phase, real grief, not because something bad happened, but because something old is ending. There is silence where there used to be noise. There is space where there used to be stimulation. There is tension between who you were and who you are becoming. None of this means you are failing. It means the process is working. Isolation is not rejection. Rejection pushes away without purpose. Isolation pulls inward with intention. God is not removing you from people to punish you. He is removing distractions to prepare you. Promotion requires capacity, and capacity is built in stillness. Clarity is not formed in crowds. Maturity is not developed in constant affirmation. Leadership is trained where no one is watching. This is why the isolation feels personal, because it is personal. God does not isolate everyone. He isolates the ones He is shaping for weight. Your calling carries responsibility, and responsibility demands refinement. Refinement cannot happen when you are constantly reacting to external voices. You may have questioned yourself during this season. You may have wondered if you did something wrong. You may have replayed conversations, decisions, moments, searching for the mistake. Let this settle now. There was no mistake. There was alignment. What felt like separation was actually positioning. The war you felt was real, not imagined, not exaggerated. Light attracts resistance simply by existing, and your light is not subtle. It carries awareness, truth, and depth that disrupts shallow systems. That is why pressure met you early. That is why comfort was never permanent. God was not testing your strength. He was revealing it. This is where divine timing becomes essential. Timing is not about speed. It is about sequence. Nothing in your life arrived late. Nothing left too early. Every door that closed did so because it could not open where you were going. Every delay protected you from entering something before you were ready to stand in it. God separates before He elevates, because elevation without preparation destroys people. Visibility without stability collapses identity. Influence without clarity becomes chaos. God refuses to promote you prematurely because He intends for you to last. So if life feels quiet right now, understand this. Quiet is not absence. It is instruction. If the path feels narrow, understand this. Narrow paths are intentional. They prevent distraction. They force focus. They build discernment. Circle back to the truth once more. This is a message from God. You were called. The resistance was necessary. The isolation was strategic. Your light is not optional, it is needed. And what feels like waiting is actually strengthening the ground beneath you. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Sign 1. You no longer fit where you once belonged. Chosen one, return again to the truth at the beginning, because it grounds everything that follows. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the shift. You did not wake up one day confused for no reason. What you are experiencing is the first clear sign of divine promotion, and it always begins the same way: misalignment. You start to notice that places that once felt natural now feel tight. Conversations that used to hold your attention now feel shallow, repetitive, or strangely draining. Routines you once followed without thinking suddenly feel empty, like they no longer match who you are becoming. Roles you once played comfortably now feel restrictive, almost suffocating, as if they are asking you to stay smaller than your spirit knows it is. This change can be unsettling because nothing external may look wrong. The people may be the same. The environment may be familiar. The structure may still function. Yet internally something refuses to settle. That refusal is not rebellion. It is recognition. Your inner world has changed, and the outer world has not caught up yet. This is where many chosen ones doubt themselves. They wonder if they are becoming arrogant, distant, or ungrateful. Let me say this clearly: this is not arrogance, and it is not emotional detachment. This is spiritual growth creating new internal standards. When God upgrades the inside of you, tolerance for misalignment disappears. What once felt acceptable now feels heavy. What once felt normal now feels limiting. Growth always creates friction with familiarity, not because familiarity is wrong, but because it belongs to an earlier version of you. And God does not elevate by keeping you comfortable. He elevates by expanding your capacity, your awareness, and your responsibility. The discomfort you feel is not rejection of others, it is redirection of yourself. Your spirit is learning to say no to environments that cannot hold what you now carry. That is not judgment. That is discernment. Understand this. When God changes your inner world, the outer world must eventually change too. It has no choice. You cannot expand internally and remain externally confined forever. Something has to give. Either you shrink back to fit, or the environment falls away to make room for what is next. This is where the war becomes noticeable, because choosing growth over familiarity creates resistance. The war you felt was real, not dramatic, not imagined, real. Your light began to expose limits, and limits resist exposure. Your presence began to challenge patterns, and patterns defend themselves. But hear this with clarity and strength: your light is not the problem, your light is the purpose. God did not awaken you to send you back to sleep. He did not expand your awareness to trap you in places that no longer fit. He did not call you forward to keep you confined by comfort. This sign is uncomfortable because it demands courage. It asks you to stop forcing belonging where alignment no longer exists. It asks you to trust that outgrowing something does not mean you are better, it means you are ready. This is the mark of the chosen one. Someone called to evolve beyond familiarity. Someone whose life cannot remain static because their assignment is dynamic. Someone whose spirit refuses to settle for shallow when depth has been revealed. Circle back again to the truth. This is a message from God. You were called. The misalignment is intentional. The discomfort is directional. The war is evidence that something valuable is being protected and prepared within you. Your light is necessary, and it cannot remain hidden in places that require you to dim it. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Sign 2. Your circle shrinks without conflict. Chosen one. Return again to the truth that must be repeated until it settles fully in your spirit. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what has been happening around you. You did not suddenly become distant, difficult, or disconnected for no reason. What you are witnessing is another clear sign of divine calling and isolation season. Your circle shrinking without conflict. Notice how it happened. No dramatic arguments, no explosive endings, no clear moment where everything broke apart. People simply drifted. Conversations became less frequent. Invitations slowed. The emotional closeness faded quietly. And that quietness may have confused you more than open conflict ever could. This is how God removes noise when promotion is near. Loud exits create emotional attachment. Chaos keeps the mind occupied, but gentle distance allows clarity. God does not always remove people by force. Often, He removes access by silence. This is not abandonment. It is protection. When elevation is approaching, too many voices become interference. Opinions dilute discernment. Emotional familiarity can weaken obedience. So God simplifies your environment, not to isolate you emotionally, but to focus you spiritually. Fewer voices create space for truth to become audible. You may have questioned why certain relationships no longer feel aligned, even though nothing bad happened. You may have tried to hold on out of loyalty, history, or comfort, but growth changes frequency. And when frequency changes, connection must adjust. Some people cannot follow you where you are being prepared to go, not because they are wrong, but because their assignment is different. This is where the confusion often hits. You grieve without knowing exactly what you lost. You feel alone even though nothing dramatic occurred. Let this be normalized now. Silence can hurt more than conflict, because it offers no explanation. But silence is not absence. Silence is instruction. Isolation creates room for divine instruction. When external voices quiet down, internal guidance becomes clearer. God begins to teach you directly, without interruption, without influence, without distortion. This is why your circle had to shrink. Not because you are better than others, but because you are being trained to listen. And listening is a skill that cannot be learned in crowds. The war you felt intensified here because emotional separation exposes dependency. When people fall away, what remains is your relationship with God and your relationship with yourself. That confrontation is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Your light is being protected, not dimmed. This is not loss. Loss takes something essential. Protection removes what would drain you. What left your life during this season could not support the next version of you. God is not cruel enough to elevate you while surrounding you with voices that cannot understand your assignment. This is the classroom of silence. And in this classroom, discernment sharpens, self-trust strengthens, dependence on validation weakens. You begin to stand without leaning. You begin to hear without noise. You begin to trust without reassurance. Circle back again to the truth. This is a message from God. You were called. The quiet distancing was intentional. The shrinking circle was strategic. The isolation is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of preparation. The war was real because your light is real, and your light is necessary for what comes next. Do not chase what God gently removed. Do not mourn what could not come forward with you. What remains is enough, and what is coming requires exactly the space being created now. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Sign 3, you stir being drawn inward more than outward. Chosen one, come back to the foundation once again, because repetition is confirmation. This is a message from God. You are not imagining this inward pull. You did not suddenly lose interest in the world without reason. What is happening inside you is deliberate, guided, and necessary. You may have noticed that your attention no longer rushes outward the way it once did. Noise feels heavier, distractions feel less attractive, solitude feels less like loneliness and more like relief. Your mind turns inward naturally now, toward reflection, meaning, memory, and truth. You find yourself thinking more deeply, questioning more honestly, sensing more clearly. This is not withdrawal, this is alignment. Outward validation has started to lose its grip on you. Approval, recognition, attention, even praise no longer satisfy the way they once did. Instead, something quieter has taken its place. An inner alignment, a need for truth over applause, a desire for depth over stimulation. That shift is not accidental. It is a sign that spiritual awakening is no longer beginning. It is maturing. When awakening matures, it moves inward. God does his most important work in private, always has. Before he releases leaders into visibility, he shapes them in silence. Before he entrusts influence, he builds integrity. Before he expands impact, he strengthens inner structure. This inward season can feel confusing because, externally, it may look like nothing is happening. But internally, everything is happening. Beliefs are being rearranged. Motivations are being purified. Identity is being clarified. You are being taught how to sit with yourself without distraction, without escape, without performance. That skill is essential for what comes next. The war you felt intensifies here because inward movement removes all hiding places. There is no audience to impress, no noise to drown out truth, no external validation to lean on. Only awareness, only honesty, only God and your spirit facing each other directly. And this is where many people turn back, but you didn't, because your light is necessary and it cannot be built on shallow foundations. Let this be said clearly, this inward pull is not stagnation, it is construction. You are not stuck, you are being assembled. God is building something inside you that must be stable before it is visible, depth before reach, substance before scale. If you feel slower, quieter, more selective, that is not regression, that is discernment developing. If you feel less interested in proving yourself, that is not apathy, that is confidence being rooted internally instead of externally. If you feel called to solitude more often, that is not isolation for its own sake, that is preparation. This is how leaders are trained. This is how vision is refined. This is how clarity is protected. God does not rush this phase, because whatever is built here must carry weight later. Circle back again to the truth that anchors everything. This is a message from God. You were called. The inward pull is intentional. The silence is instructional. The war is evidence that something real is being formed. Your light is not fading. It is concentrating. What is being built in you now will one day support others, but first, it must support you. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Sign 4. Old desires no longer satisfy. Chosen one, return once more to the foundation, because truth must be reinforced before it can fully empower you. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the emptiness you've been feeling. You did not suddenly lose motivation for no reason. What has been happening inside you is not a loss of passion, it is refinement. Things that once excited you no longer carry the same energy. Goals you once chased now feel strangely hollow. Pleasures that used to distract you no longer satisfy your spirit. You may still be capable of pursuing them, but something deeper refuses to be moved by them anymore. That refusal is not weakness. It is awareness. This is what happens when spiritual growth reaches a certain depth. Desire evolves. The soul outgrows appetites that cannot sustain where it is going. God does not remove desire to punish you. He removes desire to protect you. Anything that could limit your future assignment must lose its hold on you now. This phase can feel unsettling because desire has always been a source of momentum. When old desires fade, it can feel like direction is lost. But direction is not lost, it is being recalibrated. God is creating space for higher motivation, cleaner ambition, and purpose-driven hunger. Divine promotion requires elevated desire. You cannot carry old appetites into new responsibility. You cannot steward greater influence while being driven by shallow reward. So God gently drains the satisfaction from things that would distract, delay, or distort what He is building in you. This is not boredom. This is discernment awakening. The war you felt intensifies here because desire is deeply tied to identity. When desires change, identity must adjust. That adjustment can feel like disorientation, but it is actually alignment in progress. Your spirit is learning to want what matches its calling. And timing matters here. Divine timing does not rush replacement. First, space must be cleared. Old hunger must quiet before new hunger can speak. God never fills a vessel that is already occupied. What feels like emptiness right now is actually readiness. Do not panic in this season. Do not force yourself back into old patterns just to feel something familiar. Familiar does not mean aligned. God is teaching you to wait without regressing, to trust without replacing, to remain open without settling. Your light is not dimming because desire has shifted. Your light is becoming focused. It is learning what is worthy of its energy, and that focus is necessary for what comes next. Circle back again to the truth that steadies everything. This is a message from God. You were called. The dissatisfaction is intentional. The refinement is strategic. The war is real because your future carries weight. Your light is necessary, and it must be driven by purpose, not appetite. New desires will come. Clearer ones, stronger ones, ones that do not drain you but direct you. Until then, trust the clearing. Trust the timing. Trust the God who is preparing you carefully, not quickly. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. Sign 5. You feel misunderstood but unbothered. Chosen one, return again to the beginning, because this truth must stay centered. This is a message from God. You are not imagining this emotional shift. You did not suddenly stop caring for no reason. What you are experiencing now is a quiet but powerful sign of maturity. You may have noticed that people misunderstand you more than ever. Your choices confuse them. Your silence is misread. Your distance is questioned. Your growth is interpreted incorrectly. And yet, something surprising has happened. You no longer feel the urge to explain yourself. There is no burning need to correct assumptions, no anxiety about being misperceived, no compulsion to defend your intentions. That calm is not indifference. It is emotional independence. In earlier seasons, being misunderstood would have unsettled you. You would have replayed conversations, over-explained your heart, tried to make others see you clearly. But now, even when misunderstanding exists, it no longer controls you. You can feel it without being consumed by it. That is not emotional shutdown. That is strength. This is what happens when purpose begins to outweigh approval. The need to be understood fades when direction becomes clear. When you know who you are becoming, you no longer need constant confirmation from people who are not walking your path. God is training you to stand steady without applause. This stage is uncomfortable for the ego but essential for the calling. Leadership cannot survive dependence on validation. Visibility collapses without inner stability. Responsibility requires the ability to be misunderstood without losing clarity. The war you felt sharpened here because misunderstanding often feels unfair. You may want to speak, to clarify, to prove that your heart is clean, but God is teaching you restraint. Silence is not weakness in this season, it is discipline. Not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. Not every perception requires correction. Your light does not need explanation to be real. This is preparation. When God elevates you, not everyone will understand your decisions. Not everyone will agree with your direction. Not everyone will celebrate your growth. If misunderstanding could destabilize you, promotion would crush you. So God builds inner steadiness first. You are learning to let truth speak louder than defense, to let consistency speak louder than words, to let alignment speak louder than opinion. That is maturity. That is readiness. And make no mistake, this does not mean you no longer care. It means you care correctly. You care about obedience more than image. You care about purpose more than perception. You care about truth more than approval. This is where the chosen ones separate emotionally from the crowd, not in arrogance, but in clarity. You are no longer available for emotional manipulation through misunderstanding. You know who you are, and you know who called you. Circle back now to the truth that frames everything. This is a message from God. You were called. The misinterpretation is part of the process. The war was real because your light is real, and your light is necessary for what is coming. You are being trained to lead without leaning, to stand without validation, to move without permission. This is not the loss of sensitivity. It is the gain of stability. If this touched your soul, comment 111 because you know it now. You were called. Sign 6. Life is quiet, but your spirit is loud. Chosen one. Return once again to the truth that anchors everything. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the contrast you are living in right now. Externally, life has become quieter. Internally, everything has become louder, and that contrast is intentional. There may be fewer events filling your calendar, fewer conversations demanding your energy, fewer distractions pulling at your attention. Days feel slower, life feels less crowded. From the outside, it may look like nothing is happening, but inside you, awareness is alive, intuition is sharper, perception is clearer, thoughts arrive with weight and meaning instead of noise. This is not emptiness. This is activation. When God reduces external stimulation, internal sensitivity increases. Silence is not the absence of movement. It is the amplification of instruction. In quiet seasons, The voice of God no longer has to compete with constant distraction. His message becomes unmistakable because the frequency has been cleared. Isolation creates this frequency. When noise fades, truth rises. When distraction quiets, direction speaks. This is why your spirit feels loud even though your life feels still. Something within you is awake, alert and aware in a way it was not before. The war you felt sharpened here because silence removes all masks. There is no distraction to hide behind, no busyness to numb awareness. Only truth, presence and calling. That confrontation can feel intense, but it is necessary. Your light is being tuned, not dimmed. Quiet seasons are misunderstood because they do not produce visible evidence immediately, but they are encoded with direction. Every still moment carries information. Every pause carries instruction. God is not withholding movement, He is downloading clarity. You are learning to listen without urgency, to sense without forcing, to trust without rushing. These are not passive skills. They are powerful ones. Leaders who cannot sit in silence cannot carry responsibility. People who cannot hear without noise cannot receive instruction. This season is training you to hear clearly. Circle back again to the beginning. This is a message from God. You were called. The stillness is not accidental. The silence is not abandonment. The war was real because something valuable is being refined. Your light is necessary, and it must be aligned before it is amplified. Do not underestimate what is happening in the quiet. What is forming in silence will one day speak with authority. What is being shaped in stillness will one day move with precision. If this touched your soul, comment 111. Because you know it now, you were called. Sign 7. You sense something is being prepared. Chosen one. Circle back one final time to the truth that has carried you through every sign. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what you feel now. This quiet certainty did not come from nowhere. You did not talk yourself into it. It arrived fully formed, calm, steady, and unmistakable. You sense that something is being prepared behind the scenes, not with excitement that makes you restless, not with anxiety that makes you doubt, but with a grounded knowing that does not need proof. There is no rush in it, no fear in it, just certainty, and certainty does not shout. It settles. This is one of the clearest signs that divine promotion is near. God often reveals the shift internally, long before it appears externally. Before doors open, awareness opens. Before movement begins, readiness settles. Before the world sees change, the chosen one feels alignment. This is how divine order works. Inner confirmation always comes before outer confirmation. You may not know what exactly is coming. You may not see the full shape of it yet, but you know something is forming, something intentional, something precise, something that required everything you have already endured. That knowing is not imagination. It is spiritual perception catching up to divine timing. The war you fought makes sense here. The isolation, the separation, the inner work, the quiet seasons, the discomfort, the refinement. All of it was preparation. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was excessive. Nothing was random. Your light required this level of readiness, because what it is meant to illuminate carries weight. This is where fear dissolves. Not because circumstances changed, but because understanding arrived. You are no longer asking if something is wrong. You are no longer questioning the process. You are no longer trying to escape the season. You are standing inside it with awareness. That is authority. Divine timing does not announce itself loudly. It reveals itself gently. When the time is right, movement will follow without force. Until then, certainty is enough. God does not rush what he has carefully prepared, and he does not prepare what he does not intend to use. Circle back now to the beginning and let this truth land fully. This is a message from God. You were called. The war was real because your light is real. The resistance existed because your assignment matters. Your light is necessary, and it is about to be placed where it belongs. Stand steady in this knowing. You are not waiting without purpose. You are positioned with intention. What is being prepared is already aligned with you. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it now. You were called. This isolation is not the end. It sups the threshold, closing activation. Chosen one, return with me to where this message began, because the truth must be sealed before it can be carried forward. This is a message from God. You are not imagining what you lived through. You were not abandoned. You were assigned. And everything you experienced in this isolation season had intention, order, and purpose written into it. What felt like distance was not absence. What felt like silence was not neglect. What felt like delay was not denial. It was preparation. God does not separate lightly. He separates carefully, and he only prepares deeply what he intends to use meaningfully. You were isolated because you were trusted. Trusted with awareness. Trusted with refinement. Trusted with responsibility that could not be formed in noise. God knew your spirit could withstand the quiet without breaking. He knew your light could survive without constant confirmation. He knew you would not lose yourself when everything familiar fell away. That is not rejection. That is confidence. If you understand this now, if clarity has replaced confusion, if peace has settled where resistance once lived, then anchor it. Comment 777. Not as a trend, as alignment. Because alignment acknowledged becomes alignment embodied. This isolation season has already done its work. It stripped what could not come forward. It strengthened what had to remain. It sharpened your discernment. It anchored your identity. It taught you how to stand without leaning, listen without noise, and trust without evidence. You are not leaving this season empty-handed. You are leaving it equipped. And hear this clearly, God does not hide people to forget them. He hides them to reveal them properly. What was formed in private will soon be expressed with clarity. What was refined in silence will soon carry authority. What was built without witnesses will soon support others. There is no rush now. Readiness has replaced urgency. You do not need to chase what is already aligned. You do not need to force what is already prepared. Divine timing does not require your anxiety. It requires your availability. The war you fought mattered. It was real because your calling is real. Resistance only rises where light threatens darkness, and your light is not decorative. It is necessary. It carries truth, stability, and presence that will shift environments simply by being there. You are not stepping into something random next. You are stepping into what this season qualified you for. Let peace replace the last traces of doubt. Let confidence settle without arrogance. Let clarity guide you without fear. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where preparation meets release. And as we close, let this truth echo one final time. Strong and undeniable, this is a message from God. You were called. The isolation was intentional. The preparation was precise. The war was necessary. And your light is needed exactly where it is about to be placed. If this touched your soul, comment 111. Because you know it now, you were called.